Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shop Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Saturday, March 2nd, 2024. If you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my college basketball Bank Shop best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here is a loaded card in Saturday college hoops. First up, we see Illinois and Wisconsin. This one's going to be a 1 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on the Big Ten Network. Illinois is not the worst road team in college basketball. It's certainly not the best either. Out of their 5 losses in conference play, 4 of them have been in true road games against Purdue, Northwestern, and Michigan State. Those losses are excusable, not terrible losses, but most recently, their last true road game against Penn State, giving up 90 points and losing that game by 1 point. Not what you want to see. And now you're going on the road in a tough building and against a tough team in Wisconsin that was really strong at the beginning of the season. They were, to start conference play 5-0 and 8-1, and they were 16-4 overall at one point. Now we see them at a measly 10-7 in conference play and 18-10 overall. They're coming off the loss at Indiana. Not a great loss there, but Wisconsin is a much better team at home. They're a fundamentally sound team. They're strong on both the offensive and defensive glass. Their offense is top 20 in adjusted offensive efficiency, and while their defense is giving up a high percentage in terms of shooting percentage to their opponents, especially from the perimeter, it's still forcing tough shots, and like I said, top 10 in defensive rebounding, so they're holding teams to 1 shot per trip. Illinois, not an amazing three-point shooting team, so I think Wisconsin actually matches up really well in this game, and with Illinois on the road, I can't really get there with them after that last road performance. I'm going to go with Wisconsin here at a pretty solid price at home. Next up, we see Kansas and Baylor. This one's going to be also 1 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on ABC. I got to say, I really like this Baylor team. I think that they've kind of been unfortunate in a lot of games this season where, we've seen them lose 3 overtime games. Overtimes are basically coin flips at that point. And, Baylor's 1-3 in those ball games. They lost a triple overtime game against TCU, lost at Kansas State in overtime, and as well as the Houston game, which, was a real, gut-wrenching loss because they came all the way back. They were down, I think, 16 points at halftime. Came all the way back, forced overtime, and had some chances to win it, but couldn't get there. But I still think this is a really talented team. I think they also match up well against Kansas. They're playing with revenge here. They lost the first matchup at Kansas, 64-61. It was a very competitive game, though. And, I think Baylor, the reason why I say they match up well, they're number 2 in the nation in three-point shooting this season. They score a lot of their points from the perimeter. Kansas ranked 151st in three-point defense, which is not great for a Big 12 team, but beyond that, they give up 36.4% of their points defensively to three-point jumpers. And like I said, Baylor, they take and make a ton of threes. So that's really, worrisome for me with Kansas on the road. Kansas hasn't been known to be a great road team this year. We saw a stretch where they just could not, play well at all on the road. They've lost to Texas Tech, Kansas State, Iowa State, West Virginia, and UCF in true road games in conference play. To me, I just think Baylor matches up well here. Like I said, revenge game. I'm going to take them at home in the spot, and we're getting a pretty good price. Next up, we see Marquette and Creighton. This one's going to be a 2:30 Eastern start time. It's going to be on Fox. Creighton lost the first matchup of the season series, 72-67 at Marquette. It was a game that was pretty much neck and neck throughout until the end. Creighton had a big lead early, 14-3. And then Marquette pulled away in the final 10 minutes of that game to earn the W. But it was a strange game because Creighton, Marquette won the offensive rebound advantage 18-4 in that game. They crushed Creighton on the offensive glass, which is strange because you got Ryan Kalkbrenner, who's, obviously one of the tallest players in college basketball and, a solid rebounder. But also, Marquette's not a very good rebounding team on either side of the court. Offensively, they're ranked 248th, defensively 269th, and Creighton's actually a top 50 or top 45 defensive rebounding team. So it was kind of like an outlier game, you could say, for the Creighton defense. And I think we see them take much better care of the defensive glass in this game. And I think that's going to be the difference maker. Creighton, a very good shooting team. These are 2 very, very talented teams. There's no doubt about it. Potent offenses, strong defenses, but Creighton at home here playing with revenge. And we're getting a really good price because we saw Creighton, recently lose that game at St. John's and by double digits. I like Creighton in this spot to get that revenge W. Next up is Virginia and Duke. This one's going to be a 6 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN. We faded Duke in its last game against Louisville, and Louisville, they lost that one by 25, so obviously did not cover the number. But it was a game where they were within the number for a good majority of it. Just Duke at the end of that game, they just could not miss. They ended the game 11 of 22 from three-point range, Louisville was only 17%. So when you look at those numbers, there's just no way a team like Louisville is going to be able to cover in that situation. But when you look at Virginia, I think that Duke's going to be, a little bit more uncomfortable offensively, more in this game than they usually are in conference play. As Virginia, a very strong defensive team, top 10 in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency, top 40 in three-point defense, and shot quality-wise, really strong numbers as well for the Cavaliers. Now, their offense isn't the prettiest. They're not very efficient. They do take a lot of threes. They make them at a decent rate. They're ranked 50th in the nation in three-point shooting, and they take care of the basketball, which is, good things to see. But they're a miserable free throw shooting team. They don't get to the free throw line much. They're not really good on the offensive glass, and they're ranked 291st in two-point field goal percentage. So the way that Virginia wins is by its defense, and they look to slow the game down. They're one of the slowest teams in college basketball on both ends of the court. So when you're getting a lot of points with a team like Virginia, to me, in a slow-paced game, I think points are going to be at a premium. I think it's going to be a pretty ugly game here. And if Virginia defensively, they take a pretty good job, pretty good care of the defensive glass, so they should be able to hold Duke to one shot per trip. I think that this is going to be, a low-scoring, ugly game where Duke wins but fails to cover. So I'm going to go with Virginia here plus the points. But we know Virginia's got the talent and certainly has the coaching to pull off an upset like this. So maybe sprinkle on the money line as well. I know Virginia's not in the best form recently, but I think because of that, we're getting a really good price. So give me the points here with Virginia on the road. And the final game we're going to talk about for the Saturday card is going to be Tennessee and Alabama. This one's going to be an 8 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN. You got one of the best defenses in the country in Tennessee going up against one of the best, if not the best. They're number one in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency in Alabama. A mix of styles going at it in this one. Now, the first matchup, the defense won for Tennessee, but they also scored 91 points in a 91-71 blowout win for the Volunteers, but that was at Tennessee. Tennessee's not necessarily known to be the best program away from home. This season hasn't been as much. They've had a really strong year overall. But in recent years, we've seen them, especially in the NCAA tournament, they've struggled. This season in non-conference play, they struggled in those neutral site games. They have 2 true road losses in conference play against Texas A&M, Mississippi State inferior teams. And Alabama, a really tough place to play, a really tough team to play against. It's just because of the way they play. Super fast-paced offensively, potent offensively, shooting-wise. They're a strong offensive rebounding team. To me, this is a game where I don't think Tennessee can go score for score with Alabama for 40 minutes. And we saw that in the last game for Alabama against Ole Miss. Ole Miss was competitive in that game for a while. I think they had, a couple leads in that one. They were actually up by 14 now, I'm looking at it, 37-23, a 14-point lead. And all of a sudden, when the final score says Alabama puts up 103 points and they win the game by 15. And we've seen that plenty of times this season with this Alabama offense. It just, when it gets going, it is really tough to stop, even with a defense like Tennessee's. Tennessee on the road, their numbers shooting-wise aren't the best from three-point range. If they're down big early, I just don't know how they claw their way back in a game like this. And I know Alabama's not a great defensive rebounding team, but neither is Tennessee. And like I said, an already really good shooting team is also top 20 in Alabama in offensive rebounding percentage. So Tennessee's in great form, and they're coming off a really big win against Auburn. But Auburn's a really physical team, and now you have to play Alabama after just playing Auburn, only a couple days off in between. I just think it's a really bad spot for the Volunteers. I'm going to go with Alabama. I think they get their revenge. And that's it. Those are the games for Saturday in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.